Okay, so it's Wednesday the 11th of August 2021. I'm about to embark on the Hadrian's Wall Path National Trail, which spans the north of England. I'm here at the starting point on the west coast. This is Bowness-On-Solway. Behind me is the Solway Firth estuary, and in the distance you can see Scotland. As you can see, it's 84 miles to Wallsend in Newcastle upon Tyne. But I'll be finishing my journey on Tuesday evening at Sandhaven Beach, South Shields on the east coast, making it a 90-mile coast-to-coast hike. So a long way to go, so let's start walking. this is a reconstruction of Hadrian's Wall, and the stones represent the forts, the 17 forts along the wall. You start at Bowness-On-Solway, Drumbrough, Brough by Sands, Carlisle, Stanwix, Castlesteads, Bird Oswald, Carveran, Great Chesters, Housesteads, Carrabrough, Chesters, Halton Chesters, Rudchester, Benwell, Newcastle, Wallsend, and my final destination, South Shields, Fort Arbea. Okay, so this is Bleatarn Farm, and this is one section of Hadrian's Wall that you're actually allowed to walk on, although it's been covered with turf now, probably to protect what little remains there were. But you can clearly see the line of the wall where it once stood 1900 years ago. So only about 10% of Hadrian's Wall remains standing, and the reason for that is over the centuries many of the stones were stolen to construct other buildings, houses, churches, even roads. This is Lanacos Priory, and just like many other buildings around here, it was built using stones from Hadrian's Wall. So this is a reconstruction of what Hadrian's Wall would have looked like when it was completed in AD 128. It would have been around 3 meters wide, 4.5 meters tall, but with the parapets on the north side that would have added another 1.5 meters, so it would have been up to 6 meters tall on the north side. The walkway along the top wide enough to fit a horse and cart, probably to transport soldiers and weapons from one mile castle to the other. And that's all that remains to this day, 1900 years later. This is still the tallest section of the wall that remains. This is around 3 meters high. And this is Hare Hill. turret at Banks East, and you get a good idea here of just how wide the wall was. And the wall was 80 Roman miles long, and spaced every Roman mile apart were mile castles, and then evenly spaced between those were turrets which would hold about 10 soldiers, just waiting to take their turn guarding the wall. So they were evenly spaced between the mile castles, 2 between each mile castle, so a third of a mile apart. And this is an example of one of the turrets. This is turret 52A at Banks East. So I'm just coming up to Bird Oswald, and the foundations for the wall here were originally made from turf and later replaced with stone, and you can certainly see that from this undulating ground all around me. So this is it. This is Hadrian's Wall. Well, that's great, but what exactly was Hadrian's Wall? Well, shortly after the Roman invasion, the Emperor Hadrian ordered his soldiers to construct a wall running from Bowness-On-Solway in the west to Newcastle upon Tyne in the east. It was about 3 meters wide, 4.5 meters tall, and 80 Roman miles long. Now, the Roman mile a little bit shorter than the standard mile. It was based on 1,000 paces, which makes sense because the word mile comes from the Latin word mille, which means 1,000. So what was the purpose of the wall? Well, it may have been just a bold statement from the Romans: this is our land, stay away. And of course, its main purpose was used to stop the fighting between the Romans to the south and the barbarians to the north. And it was also a way to generate revenue for the Romans by charging tax and duty on people and goods moving from north to south. But one thing's for sure, it's certainly a sturdy wall, because it's still here nearly 1900 years later. Side of the wall. This would have been covered over and hidden spikes underneath, an extra measure to keep the barbarians out of the Roman Empire. stones here. They then had to build the wall itself up these steep hills. It's a fantastic achievement. Okay, so I'm here at the trig point on Green Slack on Windshield Crags. This is the highest point on the Hadrian's Wall path at 345 metres above sea level. It's also approximately the halfway point. I've done about 45 miles to get here, another 45 to go. Small mile castles along Hadrian's Wall. This is probably the best example. This is Mile Castle 39 at Sycamore Gap. And this is Sycamore Gap. This tree is famous for being in the film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner, but for me it's more notable for appearing in the ITV drama Vera. Good old Brenda Blethyn. Section of wall is not actually Hadrian's Wall. It was reconstructed by John Clayton in the 1800s and it's known as Clayton's Wall. cottage just outside Wylam was the birthplace of George Stephenson, father of the railways. This is Britain's longest road. It's the A1. Okay, so I'm here at This is the official end of the Hadrian wool path. As you can see, it's 84 miles back to Bowness-On-Solway where I started. I've got about another 5 or 6 miles to go to get to South Shields on the east coast. So on we go. South Shields. Walked 170 kilometres over 7 days, which is just over 106 miles. I'm tired and hungry, can't wait to crash at the B&B. This is a pebble that I picked up on the beach at Bowness-On-Solway on the west coast, and I'm going to place it down here on the east coast to mark the end of my epic journey. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in my next adventure.